Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called Can't Sit Down? At the time this happened, I worked in a cafe set over 3 floors. So my day generally consisted of 10 hours running up and down stairs. I had slipped on some spilled motor oil in the car park on my way home and my ankle had bent underneath me. I had initially assumed I'd just twisted it, but several hours later, it was still throbbing, as well as swelling up so much that it looked like I was hiding a pair of golf balls under my sock and turning a deep shade of purple. As my next shift started in less than 12 hours and we were short-staffed as it is, I didn't want to call in sick. But I knew there was no way I'd be able to stand or walk on it for a whole day. I called my manager to explain and to ask if I could switch to the register for a few days, which involved much less walking than my regular role, and borrow one of the bar stools to sit on behind the counter, so I wasn't putting too much weight on it. I figured this wouldn't be a problem, as we had other staff who could cover the floor and there are no issues with access around the register that the chair could get in the way of. But I was wrong. The manager insisted that he wouldn't sign off on me having a chair without a signed doctor's note verifying my injury, even after I sent him photos of my wrecked ankle. As my general practitioner was already closed, I headed to the 24-hour walk-in clinic. An X-ray and a lot of poking and prodding later, the doctor told me I had to ice it every few hours until the swelling went down, which took almost a week, and keep all weight off it for at least a week, and wear a brace for another 2 weeks after that. When I explained what I did for a living, the doctor presented me with a lovely note explaining that I shouldn't be at work at all for at least 7 days. I wish I could have seen my manager's face when I called to explain that I didn't need the chair after all, as actually I wouldn't be at work for the rest of the week and most of next week, doctor's orders. Funnily enough, I was never asked to produce a doctor's note again for the rest of the time I worked there. The next story is called Demand to Speak to My Manager. So I was working as the manager at a small independent cafe. I was in charge of the store and answered only to the owner, who happened to live a few blocks from the store. This day we had been open about an hour and a half, but mornings are pretty quiet and most of our customers pay by card. So we only had £150 float in the till, made up exclusively of coin change and a handful of £5 notes. A guy comes in, orders a coffee, and pays with a £10 note. I ring him up, hand him his change, and as the till drawer shuts, he immediately begins to rage. "What is this? I gave you a £50 note." "I'm sorry sir, you definitely didn't. You paid £10 and this is your change. Don't try that on me. I know what I gave you. Give me the correct change now." "Sir, you paid with a £10 note. Open the till drawer and give me the correct change now, you idiot." "I'm not going to do that sir. You have the correct change already. This is outrageous, get me the manager now. I want to watch as they fire you." Now people try to get extra change like this pretty regularly, either because it's a genuine mistake or because it's a scam, so the standard procedure is to either check the camera to prove them wrong or, if it's not clear enough, to close the till and cash it up in front of them. But because I already know that there isn't a single £50 note in the till, I could just as easily have opened the till drawer and shown him in this instance. Technically, we have the right to call the police whenever a suspected change scam happens, though, in practice, neither I nor any of my assistant managers ever do this. I know that the owner, however, absolutely does, and since this guy has been so rude and demanded to speak to my manager, I guess it's a good time to comply with his request. So I put on my best service smile and walk into the back. I call the owner and say that there's a situation going down, can she please come in to help me deal with it? When she says she's on her way, I go back out front and make a point of standing as far away from the till as possible. A few minutes later she arrives, clearly a bit annoyed for being called in, and asks the customer what has gone on. He gives his side of the story, and I explain that I am 100% sure he paid just £10, but that since he asked to speak to my manager, would she mind cashing up the till, as I don't think he will trust me to do it. The owner walks over to the till, opens the drawer and reveals the complete lack of any large notes. She pulls the till drawer out to show him, then turns to me and asks me to call the police to report a suspected change scam. The customer turns white as a sheet and runs out of the property, leaving his coffee and his change on the bar. The third story is called, Expect Me to Do What? So this happened a number of years ago when I was in college, studying preschool education. A new daycare had recently opened in our town and it already had a bit of an unsavory reputation. For some reason, they had gotten my name from one of my professors as a potential supply teacher. So they called me in the morning on the hottest day of summer. It had to be around 30 degrees at 7 and the temperature was still rising. The director was in a twist, needing a supply for a few days and promised to pay me $10 an hour if I came in to help. What college student doesn't need money, so I agreed and headed over. I got there at around 8 and the place was disgusting. Dirty floors, filthy walls, broken toys. It looked like the school from the movie Matilda. I barely had time to take in the nastiness around me when I heard a woman screaming in the kitchen, "Eat now!" And after that, the sound of a very young baby wailing. I ran to the kitchen and was met with absolute filth. Dirty dishes piled on the counter. Crusted pots filled with something in the sink. And flies. Oh, the flies. Sadly, that wasn't the worst of it, because sitting in a battered high chair was a crying baby with an enraged adult teacher trying to force a spoonful of oatmeal into his tiny mouth. I asked, "What are you doing?" "The little brat won't eat." I shoved her aside, got him calmed down, and gave him his cereals. Of course, the teacher was apparently offended that a stupid supply knew how to get a baby to eat. As I was finishing up with the kid, the director came into the kitchen and announced my class for the day would be the school-age kids, upstairs. I made my way up the stairs and the heat met me about halfway to the top. It was a sauna. The director said, "The air conditioning broke 3 weeks ago. We haven't gotten it fixed yet." I looked around at the 3 almost bare rooms on the upper floor. In one was a television with a video game console and 2 controllers. In another were some old board games, and the third had a shelf with some battered books on it. With this, I was expected to entertain 15 children for the next 8 hours. Fast forward to the early afternoon. I have opened every window and the door to the fire escape, hoping to get some cross breeze going. The kids are hot and bored. Thank goodness they each brought their own lunch, because no way was I going to feed them whatever came crawling out of that kitchen. I had asked the director if the kids and I might go down to the backyard where there was shade and was told firmly no. We had to stay upstairs in the inferno the entire day. I was sitting out on the fire escape with several of the kids, playing a game, when a very smartly dressed woman walked out and introduced herself as from social services. Did I have a few moments to talk to her? Sure, I did. I told her everything. The dirt, the flies, the teacher screaming at the baby, the broken air conditioning and refusal of letting the kids go downstairs to try to prevent heat stroke. And something else. I had not yet gotten my degree in preschool teaching. I was an unlicensed, unsupervised college student in charge of 15 kids. Apparently, the staff had refused to talk to her at all, so she and I had a lovely conversation for the next half hour, and it didn't take the kids long to realize this was their chance for their own bit of revenge as they pipped up with their own stories and complaints. The daycare was shut down the next day. I was never paid. But honestly, just getting them closed down was payment enough for me. The next story is called University Compliance. It's been 5 years since I got my degree, and this story is from that time. In my country, university students used to have a student booklet where professors recorded course attendance and exam results. My university switched to a digital system shortly after I started, so I was in one of the last years to be issued a physical booklet. I used my booklet for the first year, then there was a transition period where professors would record exam results both in the booklet and in the online portal, and eventually, in my final years, they moved to digital only and we were told the booklet was no longer needed. As I was about to get my master's degree and I had just barely managed to complete my thesis in time to graduate. Both my advisors have approved my thesis and signed all the documents I need. This was super hard because one of them was hardly ever in his office, and I only managed to track him down after exchanging several emails and phone calls explaining how I urgently needed his signature before the deadline. He was a good person and a great mentor, and I really enjoyed working with him on my thesis, but he was one of those absent-minded academic types who couldn't grasp the concept of a deadline. I finally collect the last signature on a Friday afternoon, sprint across town and arrive at the admin offices an hour before closing time. It was the very last day to submit a request to graduate, and you would think that most students would have submitted their requests well in advance to avoid the risk of not graduating until the next semester, pay for another year of tuition, and so on. However, quite a few, like me, had troublesome advisors that forced them to wait until the last possible minute. So on that final day, there was a bit of a queue. But I think to myself that I'm fine, I'm here with all my documents and stuff. I've double and triple checked that I have all the required signatures and everything. Finally, one of the admins calls my number. "Good afternoon, I'm here to submit a request to graduate. This is my documentation." I place my documents and sign thesis on his desk. "Hold on girl, first I have to check if you passed all your exams, otherwise there is no point doing all the paperwork. Of course, my student number is this." At this point, what he should have done was enter my number in the online system and check that I was marked as passed all exams, can graduate. This has since been automated, so that nobody had to check manually. But we were still in a transition period. Of course, the guy decides to not do this online check and instead looks at me like I'm dense. "I need your student booklet so I can check that you passed your exams." I didn't think to bring my booklet with me. My year isn't using booklets anymore, we're using the digital system. If you check, you'll see that I passed all. The guy gets louder. I can't check if you don't give me your booklet. But even if I gave you my booklet, it doesn't have all my exams, because my exams from last year were recorded online only. Then afterwards I'll check your online booklet. Good, so can you check online now? You're not listening to me. First you give me your booklet. I check your booklet. Then, if it doesn't have all your exams, I check online. But my booklet does not have all my exams recorded. Can't you just check online since it's what you would have to do anyway? The rules say you have to give me your booklet first. At this point, he was getting very red-faced. I tried showing him a page I had printed, listing all the requirements for submitting a request to graduate, which did not mention the booklet at all, but instead said basically check online if the student passed all exams. He refused to look at it and instead pointed to an older sheet of paper taped on the wall next to his desk. It was a previous version of the list I had from maybe 2 years before. And he told me to read it. I read out loud the part that said students will present the booklet or the online system must show that the student passed all exams. While I'm literally reading the part that contradicts what he's saying, see, you can't even read. You must give me your booklet now. Otherwise, you don't get to graduate. Stop asking for special treatment. If you didn't bring your booklet, it's your fault. This guy sounds serious, and for a moment, I think he's really going to stop me from graduating. My booklet is at home, but it's over a 1-hour round trip, and by the time I get back, the office will be closed. However, while the guy is trying to send me away, I see a very interesting notice taped to the wall. You don't have a booklet. Your request to graduate is denied. Those are the rules. Next. Hold on please, there is one more thing. I would like to request a replacement booklet. Lost it, have you? Young people nowadays, always careless with your possessions. Back in my time we would never lose something so important. Anyway, fill this form and come back in 2 weeks to get your new booklet. I pointed to the sign on the wall. It says here that in exceptional circumstances students can get replacement booklets on the same day. So what? This is an exceptional circumstance because I need my booklet to graduate. No, you're not graduating. It says right here, for students who need it for an exam or are about to graduate in the next session. But you haven't lost your booklet. You just forgot it. You don't need another. But the rules say students must carry their booklet at all times on campus and are responsible for getting a replacement as soon as possible if they lose it. I'm just following the rules. Long story short. He issues me a replacement booklet on the spot. This took a while on this already busy day, as I had to fill a few forms, print everything, sign and stamp it. And the booklet came updated with all my information from the online system, and guess who had passed all her exams? So he very ungraciously hands me the booklet and sends me away, or at least tries to. Thanks. There is just one more thing. I plop the booklet on top of my pile of documents and slide it back towards him. I would like to submit a request to graduate. The last story is called, Are You Sure You Want to Do That? About 3 years ago, I used to work at the tech department for a customer support provider. Our client was a budget internet service provider, so you know what's up. Besides customer support, I also worked a few hours per week as a quality monitor. This basically means that I listened to recorded calls and grade them on how well the employee did. My colleague, let's call him Bert, emailed me that I have to listen to the call he is having right now with a customer. 10 minutes later I see that he is done with the call. I download the recording, which also contains a screen recording of his desktop, so I also could see what he was doing during the call. The call was not in English, so I translated as accurate as I could. Good afternoon. My name is Bert, how can I help you? Hi, you need to fix my Wi-Fi. It just stopped working on all my devices. This is the millionth time this week. Bert is loading the customer data. That sounds like quite the problem. On all your devices, you say? Yes, but I can still watch TV. Indeed, I can see that your internet still works, so it seems to be just the Wi-Fi. Bert follows the regular troubleshoots, which takes a few minutes. But the lady becomes impatient quickly and starts to scold Bert. Why does this take so long? Is this your first day or something? No, but not all problems can be fixed quickly. I don't have time for this. Can you transfer me to someone who actually knows his job? At this moment Bert is audibly getting angry. I see him opening up his work email and sending me the actual message. I'm sorry, but you'll have to deal with me. Let's just focus on the problem, okay? The customer starts screaming, no. I'm done with you. All of you. I want to cancel my whole package, you hear? Right now. Are you sure? I think it's better if you. No. I don't want to hear any more excuses. For the second time, cancel it. Okay, this will take only a minute, I'll be right back. Bert calls to the admin in the back office. Hi admin, this customer would like to immediately cancel her complete subscription. Is she sure about that? Yes, I asked her specifically. Alright, the order is first in the list so that is done. All the services are terminated, the final bill for this month will be recalculated around this date. Cool, thanks. Bert goes back to the call with the lady. Thank you for waiting. What have you done? My TV stopped working. Well, that's because you have cancelled your subscription. So the services stopped too. What? I didn't mean that. You know what, I'm going to file the biggest complaint you've ever seen. Give me your name and transfer me to your complaint department. I'm very sorry, but if you want to do that, you will have to become a customer first. She went silent. Can I do anything else to help you with? And the recording ends there. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.